Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and I am still a bit ill while doing this video, so I do apologise for the croakiness and for any coughing or anything that happens throughout this. But today we're here to talk about Age of Empires 4. This is a video I meant to put out and do a couple of weeks ago, really, but just haven't gotten around to it, been busy with real things. But here we are, we're talking about Age of Empires 4, and yeah, this is not a game that I like, if I'm honest. This is a game that I was hoping was going to feel quite different to the older games, and that was not the case. Now, I'm not going to sit here for however long and tell you this is a bad game. I don't think Age of Empires 4 is a bad game. I think the guys, I think it's Relic that made it, you know, have done a good job to appease probably older fans and add, you know, modern spins on things and improve things over the years. However, I did do a video, I think it was last year now, called I Don't Like Age of Empires and That's Okay, and that was basically going over why I don't really like the Age of Empires franchise, the too many resources, the fact that everything takes forever to either die or buildings take forever to be destroyed. There's very specific things and setups that you have to do to really kind of maximize how to take out an enemy's base, essentially. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert at the game. I understand RTS pretty well, but I'm not an expert at the game. And playing Age of Empires 4, now, I played about 5-6 skirmish matches versus the AI just to try and get my head around it. I've only played the English, and then I did a couple of matches against humans, which one of them unfortunately got disconnected on. So I haven't put a lot of time into it, but I would say about 2 hours, and only playing one team. And I came to the conclusion very, very quickly that it wasn't for me. You know, visually it's nice. The differences between the teams is cool, but it still carries the same problems that I had with the original Age of Empires into this one. Resource management, the amount of villages you need, the fact that things take a long time to destroy. They're probably a bit quicker because I think certain units now, I think melee units, when you attack a building, they get like a fire out on a stick and start doing more damage. But generally, if you're not building certain siege weapons, you are going to take a little while to get through a lot of buildings. And defensive buildings are very powerful in this game, it seems. You can kind of negate that if you get the tier 4 ship, which is ridiculously powerful, assuming you're on a map where you can actually get close to the enemy with a boat. But yeah, I just, there's nothing about this game that really changed up enough for me to be that invested in it. It was very much just like, oh, this is like the old game, but with a new lick of paint, which is fine, except that the old game, especially Definitive Edition, the first Age of Empires, has really good music. It's not to say that 4 doesn't. It's just, there's a certain something about the old kind of like MIDI-esque style music, that era. You know, there's a bit of nostalgia there, I guess. It's kind of quite appealing to the older Age of Empires. With this, it kind of has a very generic feel. The UI is very clean, but has no character to it. There's a lot of information on screen. Just there's a lot of interesting choices that I'm sure that will, you know, appeal to a lot of people. I think the gameplay is going to really appeal to, you know, people that are fans of Age of Empires 1 and 2. But this game doesn't, from playing it, doesn't feel like it does a great job of getting newcomers into it, because there's still a lot of complex things you have to think about. Even the upgrades as well. You don't realise how important a lot of those upgrades can be. You know, what I actually get the most enjoyment out of playing something like this is where I can be left alone and just sit there and tech up and get my economy going and, you know, and just build up a nice, defensible position. That's kind of how I play Age of Empires. But the other thing with the maps in this game is that you can spend ages defending one area of the map, and they can just ride up behind your base and just come in from the rear, and that is super frustrating for someone who's played a lot of StarCraft, where, you know, it's all ramp based, where you have ramps to get in and out of the bases, and you have to fly in to get in any other way and stuff like that. So it's been an interesting experience playing this, because, you know, I got it on Game Pass, so I didn't pay money for it directly. And I did go in with hopes, being like, oh, you know, this will hopefully be different. Maybe they'll speed up in the case of armies fighting and stuff, and as well as attacking buildings. But that wasn't the case. And also the thing with armies fighting, sometimes you'll have a mixture of units. So you have men at arms, which are meant to be for heavy defense. So I had a lot of those, you know, in front of the rest of my army. And sometimes you just kind of run your armies head first into the enemy's army and just hope that your upgrades or that you've got the right unit comps, because, like, I know there's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors thing going on where you have, like, you know, archers are good against 1 or 2 units, and then you have, like, cavalry that are good against certain units, and spearmen that are good against cavalry. But there's such, like, a heavy resource management, and sometimes it doesn't really matter. You can just have more units, or you can just have better upgraded units, and you can just steamroll them. And it just, I don't know, like, it just feels like there's a lot of, something and nothing here. Like, I don't feel like I'm playing an RTS that's come out this year. I feel like I'm playing an RTS that's back from, like, the early 2000s or whatever. Like, it doesn't feel like much has changed. And I'm sure, like, as someone who doesn't play a lot of Age of Empires, there's probably a lot of changes here. It just doesn't feel that way to me. And that's why, like, despite me not liking the game, I actually think the game's good. Like, I haven't played the single player, but I think the way that they've done the single player, very history program based, is really cool. I've never seen that before. Like, absolute props to them for, like, going out and being like, here's what a castle's like, here's what a trebuchet's like, you know, the way that it's kind of told as a story as you're playing through it as well is great. I think the game is really, really good in that aspect, but gameplay wise it just does not appeal to me. And I think if you're somebody who's looking to get into Age of Empires and didn't like the old games, you're definitely not going to like this, because the things that needed to change for me to enjoy it are still the same in this game. You know, the resources, the amount of villages you need. You know, there are upgrades that can increase and speed up the processes of getting resources and things. But another thing is, like, so you have the 4 resources. So you have your wood, your food, your gold, and your stone. And you've got to figure out when the right time is to get certain stuff. 'Cause, like, for example, you don't need stone straight away, so you just don't bother with that. Ideally, you'll want wood and you want food. But you still need a bit of gold so you can upgrade to the next era. But then when you upgrade to the next era and you want to build certain buildings or get certain upgrades, you need stone, and it's just like it's a balancing act that doesn't need to be that complicated. And I think they should tweak certain things just to make it a little bit easier to deal with stuff, because, you know, as a newcomer you might think, oh, I just need a lot of food if I just want villages and basic military. But if you don't have wood, you can't build in, like, any buildings. So you're like, okay. And it feels like straight away you're already having to make decisions to split up your villages too quickly on too many resources. So, like, you do need gold to advance to the next era. So if you're going for that kind of strategy, which is, like, you know, kind of rush to the next era, because you suddenly, when you get to era 2, you get a way more options available to you. That's a dangerous strategy. And, like, you know, if someone's playing you and they don't know you're doing that, you can suddenly get a massive advantage. But at the same time, if you're a newcomer and you don't know what you should and shouldn't be mining, focus on food and wood to start with. Like, honestly, just get yourself a good economy going with that. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I wanted to really like Age of Empires 4, but having having played it, and you know, not a huge amount, I will be honest, but having played those skirmish matches, having played those couple of online matches, I was just like, this is more of the same, and this is exactly what I did. After the second game I played with people, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not enjoying this at all. And that is a shame, but it's just the way that Age of Empires is. It's just an RTS that's quite slow in comparison to other RTS games. Like, there's fun to be had to leveling up through the ages and, like, figuring out tech and all that other stuff. Like, that's actually enjoyable for me. But the actual, when it comes to combat, especially against the AI, like, late game just becomes so boring and tedious, and it's just like, oh, they've got like 10 siege weapons or whatever. And yeah, I'm sure people will be like, oh, just go and destroy them early on. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the point. Like, I'm trying to, like, enjoy the game. I don't want to play a rush tactic every time I do it. But yeah, all in all, it's a good game, but it's not for me. I think that's the best thing I can say. It's just one of those things that just unfortunately did not get not enough mechanics had changed enough for me to really get behind it and want to play it. Like, I could go and play the single player, but I don't really have any interest in doing that either. The gameplay is just of this RTS is just not for me. Like, I'd rather go and play, like, older RTS games that are faster, more paced, you know, like the older Command & Conquer games, stuff like that. That's, you know, a bit more simplified. You're not trying to collect like 4 or 5 resources. You're just trying to build an army and fight kind of stuff. So yeah, there's my thoughts on Age of Empires 4. If you like the series already, you'll probably like this. If you are a newcomer, then, you know, you could go one or either way. So you have to kind of Go and watch reviews, go and have a look for yourself. Like I said, it is on Game Pass. If you have it, you can try it on PC, see what you think. But for me, I will not be returning to this game after this video is up. Like, that is it. I'm done with this game. That's how frustrating it is to play it for me. But still, they did a good job putting together a nice package. So I will praise them, the developers, for that. So well done on that one. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. As always, if you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content, then hit subscribe. Links will be down in the description box as always. And until next video, I will see you then.